It's Fill Your Plate Now, where every bite brings you closer to the farm gate and further from what's unhealthy. Now here's your hosts, Julie and Tammy, helping you live well by filling your plate well.
So Tammy, on today's Fill Your Plate Now, we have a fiddle player, though that's not really the focus of the interview, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to mention that.
You know, can we change the focus?
I know.
Love music, and it would really get everybody going if we had a fiddle player play a song for us.
I know. We should do that. Okay. That means we've got to bring this farmer back. But you play the piano, so no wonder you love music, right?
I love music. Yes, I love piano, but I love all types of music, and especially fiddle playing because it really gets everybody going.
It really does. If you are falling asleep and somebody comes in and starts fiddle playing, and that's Nancy Kaywood. She is our guest today. She's a Pinal County farmer. Her and her family have farmed there since 1930.
Yes.
Yes, and Nancy Kaywood and her family in Pinal County, right off of Florence Boulevard, an 11-mile corner in that area. But not only that, you're an educator. You got your education degree from Arizona State University.
Yes.
And we're going to learn more about that. I don't want to give too much away up front, but welcome to the show. And thank you so much for saying yes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So to start off, tell your family's farm story.
Well, my grandparents arrived here from Texas, and they purchased our land in 1930, 255 acres. They also purchased another farm, and the two Story brothers merged the two farms, and they called it Story Brother Farming. And then they also leased land on that as well. So they farmed about 1,600 acres, mostly cotton and alfalfa. Cotton was becoming king, major crop, and so they were just right in there.
You know, what's kind of fun to think is your family is not too far, at least as a business, from celebrating 100 years. So stick it out, Kaywood
We are
farm family.
trying to stick it out.
Yes, it's never easy.
We're 4 years from it.
Yeah, 4 years.
Wow. And you grew up on the farm?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Casa Grande.
Okay.
And we had another farm, and it was west of Casa Grande. And the other farm was east of Casa Grande, so my dad parked us right in the center.
Oh, smart man.
And
you
we
could go both directions. Yeah.
Yes, and we spent a lot of time learning farming.
But yet, then you went to ASU and became a teacher.
I did, yes.
And I saw that you had kind of married the two to a degree and have developed ag literacy programs. What motivated you to do that?
Okay, so when I was teaching school, I taught first and second grades, and I would ask the kids, where'd your food come from? And they always said, the grocery store. And I said, yeah, but let's think about this. Where did it come before the grocery store? I don't know. I said, do you think it grew in the grocery store? Yes. And so I started incorporating a lot of agriculture in my classroom. And this was before ag in the classroom. So this was in the 90s. But it just really bothered me that the kids didn't know where their food came from. So I put together a field day, and we went to the Maricopa Ag Center, the University of Arizona Maricopa Ag Center, and the kids could get an idea. And so each year, the university liked it, the teachers liked it, so we started doing an annual program out at the University of Arizona Maricopa Ag Center. And then eventually, I was asked to work for the Natural Resource Conservation Districts, the West Pinal, Coolidge, Florence, and Eloy. And so I kind of cast my fate to the wind and gave up my teaching career and went to the NRCDs and started programming at the University of Arizona Maricopa Ag Center.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
I've always admired teachers. So
Yes,
my sister's a
thank you.
teacher because they're able to take complex things and break it down into understandable pieces for the public. So you can, even if you're not technically teaching, you are helping people learn.
Well, at first I thought, I'm giving up my teaching career, but then I thought, no, you're diving in deeper because we could teach things out on the farm, like gears and bearings and sockets and, things that are harder to teach in the classroom. We could show them how it works.
It's so much more hands-on, and they say you retain it better.
Yes, and we use an old 1926 John Deere corn sheller to do that with, and let
I
them
love
grind corn, and then they got to shell corn, and then we got to grind it on a metate that my dad had actually found on one of our farms.
Well, knowing how busy you are always with everything you do, Travis, your son, is actually the one that's kind of managing / running the farm.
Yeah.
And he is that next generation. Talk about some of the changes that you've seen on the farm and how fun it is to, what's it for you as a mom, and also being raised on a farm and doing farming yourself. As a mom, what's this like for you?
I love to see my son farming. He's passionate. When he was 11 years old, he was always telling us, I want to be a farmer. And so when he was 11, my dad put him on the tractor, and he got it worse. My dad thought, well, that'll cure him. But nope, Travis wanted to farm. And so, Farm Bureau a few years ago, I got to serve on a panel with my mother. And we were asked the same question you just asked me, and she talked about how cotton was so tall, and the tractors didn't have cabs, and now they do. And so taking it from there, I'm looking at technology, GMOs, less sprays, and better tractors, the GPS. And we've seen a lot of changes. I look at what my mother saw and what my dad saw, and then the things that I'm experiencing, and all of the new technology that Travis is having to learn all the time to keep up,
Because it changes every day.
It
I
does.
have a story from a farmer that I've got to share with us. He wasn't going to pursue farming, and again, he came from a farm family. In fact, I want to say he was probably a Pinal County farmer like you. And he said, Julie, the one thing that changed and made me decide to farm is when they put cabs on tractors.
Yes.
Because of our heat here in Arizona, obviously.
Right.
It's just amazing.
All of ours have cabs. Well, the two I use for the tours don't. And so they don't ever touch those in the summertime. Travis will use one occasionally, but he'd prefer not to. And so, cabs are a big deal. GMOs is a real big deal for us. GPS, to help us. So a lot of real positive changes.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of changes, that's for
Yeah.
sure. And you are primarily cotton farmers, but also forage.
Yes, we farm cotton, alfalfa, corn, wheat, barley.
Wow, quite a variety. And any aspirations to expand even further, or are you sticking with what you're doing now? And
Right now, water is a challenge, and so my son does lease another farm just to the east of us that has better water sources. And right now, we're sticking to what we know, what we have.
I know there was a time when you were looking at prickly pear. Is that?
We were approached about
Okay.
growing prickly pear, and it sounded interesting. But then you think, wow, what's it going to take to make that switch? How do you harvest it? What do you do? And then my son made a comment that if it's going to hurt me, I don't want to do this. And so it was something that wasn't going to work.
And that's one of the things a lot of times that people trying to learn about farming don't realize, the transition to another crop. Sometimes you have to completely change your equipment profile that you have on your farm. And
good point.
it's not easy to make that transition, So,
No, and we've been approached about growing other crops. Somebody wanted us to grow waiuli. And how do you harvest it? What is the equipment that you're going to have? How much is it going to cost you to change? And there's a learning curve too.
yeah. And for
And-
the listeners, Waiuli is that natural rubber. Instead of leaning on the world market of rubber trees that you can extract latex from. This is more natural, and it's, once you start a stand, it's fairly manageable. But again, there's so much transition to it. And the reason people look at it is because it's a lower water use crop, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, we were also approached about olives, but we cannot do that because we can't use a drip system. We just don't have a water source for that.
And that one that's low salinity and or all the other things and pure water so it gets through the drip system and all that stuff, right? Every
Right.
irrigation district is different. Even in Pinal County, I forget how many irrigation districts they tell me that they have, but they're
Yeah. And each water comes from a different source. Ours comes from San Carlos. And so our water's very, very silty. So we can't use drip systems or sprinkler because of all the silt in the water.
So, my question, I always like to ask you this one, Nancy. What is your philosophy about farming? And what is it? And then why? What's the backstory on that?
Okay, so I like this saying, agriculture is freedom. We need to keep it on our soil. Arizona has a 365-day growing season in a lot of parts of Arizona. And Pinal County, we have a 365-day growing season. We can grow every day of the year. And it's scary to think about all of the farms being forced out of business, because of encroachment and also because of drought. And we just need to keep it on our soils. It's so important.
Yeah. Food security.
Food security.
Food safety, food security. If a country can't feed itself, a country can't protect itself. We forget that it's in so many ways, it's kind of a frontline defense to raise our own food,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to take care of our own people, feed our own people. I love
Right.
that philosophy, Nancy.
Well, and I think the educational piece and educating the public is important so that others understand that as well. And I mean, I know that, you have put your teaching background to good use and also do tours.
I do. I love to do the tours, and I meet so many nice people, and so many people that are so interested in agriculture. It's interesting. We get a lot of farmers from the Midwest and the Northwest, mostly in the Dakotas, and we get a lot of farmers in there, and they want to see, how do you grow it on this desert? And it's fun to show them, but it's also fun to show the people that have never been on a farm before. They have no idea. They have no clue what happens. You take them out and you show them the equipment, and they stand next to a big old tractor, and they're amazed at its size. We take them on a hayride. They love doing that. Some people had never been on a hayride. And so that's for our winter visitor programs. We also do children's programs out there. And it's fun to get those little kids out there and teach them all about where their food and fiber come from.
What do you average in a given year of how many people come out to your farm for a tour, combining adults and children?
We're seeing about 3,000 a year.
That's
And
really good.
they're
That's
on
a
the farm
huge
for 2.5 to 3 hours.
What are some of the questions that surprise you that they ask that they don't know about farming?
Well, one time when I was with the University of California in the Farm Smart program, we were out in the field, and there was this lady, and she started jumping up and down. She was just so excited. And she says, I didn't know radishes grew in the ground. I thought they grew on shrubs. And I was like, okay. And so then there was another one that she was from New York City and had never left the city. And she got out to the farm, and she just couldn't believe the smells and how the vegetables felt and how the leaves of the vegetables felt. And she was just amazed. And then I had another lady that we also grew daikon radishes, and the largest one we got out of there was 33 and a half inches.
Whoa.
And when she was
Oh, my
pulling this
goodness.
out, I said, you might want to get your balance a bit better. And pretty soon she tumbled over backwards, holding the radish straight up in the air. And it was just, she was so good-natured about it. It was so fun.
That is huge.
It was big, and it was very tender.
Wow.
And so, anyway, it's just, I guess people are so surprised that that little tiny seed is what makes their food. And it's just hard to believe. With children's programs, we show them different kinds of seeds, and we show them like a little packet of say, a carrot, a little package of carrots, and what it's going to look like and what the seed looks like. And they just can't believe that little tiny seed will make a carrot.
I bet the kids have some really interesting questions too.
They do. They really
Yeah.
do.
It's fun to see the variety. And I've been on a couple of her tours, and you should go yourself, especially in the winter when it's cooler. But especially for adults, she starts out a lot of times with PowerPoint. And then we get on the tractors and see the real thing. And I know the tour I was on, you fed us. Are you still feeding a lot of your tour groups?
We get bus tours in, and it just happens to be around the lunchtime. So what we do is we have it catered in. And then we always have a cake, and it says, "Welcome to Kaywood Farms," and it's got cotton bolls all over it.
So you are front and center and knee deep in educating. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit to the whole drought issue. We've been in the thick of a mega drought. Now I'm thinking it's 22, 23, 24 years old. And it's kind of a sobering issue here in Arizona. And Pinal County's had some of the first hits as it relates to the Colorado River because first tier cuts came to Pinal County farmers. So while they used to get the surface water, then they had to pivot to pumping underground. And one of the good things about that is that since I think it was 80s, we hadn't been pumping in Pinal County, so a lot of those water tables underground rose. Now I know the irrigation district you're in is surface water, and you get the water from the Coolidge Dam, correct? Okay, so again, every irrigation district, even within the same county, is quite different. I guess my question to you, are you hopeful? Where are we with this?
We have to be optimistic. And we keep hearing weather forecasts that we're going to have a more wet summer this year. I know that I'm crossing my fingers, and one of the sources that I heard last night says we're not going to. And, that's very disheartening. So what you just have to do is be optimistic and hope for the best. Right now, we get our water from Coolidge Dam, and it's capable of holding 900,000 acre feet of water. Right now, as we speak, it has 300 acre feet, slightly below that. So our canals went dry in March, and we have not seen a drop of water. And we have 255 acres that's fallow, with the exception of 35 acres of alfalfa. We were able to plant no cotton this year. So when that happens with the tours, then I have to, the PowerPoint is mostly about cotton. And my son farms another farm, and he's growing a couple hundred acres of cotton on that.
But
so
that's a completely different farm.
It's
that he's
right
leasing.
next door to us, and it's got well water.
Okay. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's partially San Carlos and some wells too. So he will have some water, and we will be able to go ahead and bring some cotton up to our farm so they can at least see the plants and get samples.
Yeah.
But the PowerPoint will cover how you grow it.
That's fascinating, though. I mean, the infrastructure and the changes in just a mile or two away
Right.
in the water usage or water availability is amazing.
Yeah, San Carlos is almost like a patchwork, and it's just farm here, farm there.
What do you see, though, in past just the natural water there, as far as policy and technology? What kind of things do you think need to happen to really help steady that water supply?
Well, with San Carlos, we're completely reliant on snowpack and rainfall because that's what goes into Coolidge Dam. What we have to do is manage the water the best that we know how. It comes down to us in a dirt-lined canal, and it needs to be lined. And because of that, it brings a lot of silt with it. So we are forced into flood irrigation. We cannot use drips or sprinklers. So what we do is we dead level our fields from side to side, and there's a slight slope from the irrigation ditch to the end of the field, so our water runs out smoothly and quickly. And that's our best way to conserve water. And we just have to do everything that we can to conserve it. We don't qualify for Central Arizona Project water or well water, so we just have to make the best of what we have.
There's a family that has to have faith in what our tomorrows can be. It has to be your family.
Yes.
So another question I have is related to your Farm Bureau, Arizona Farm Bureau volunteer work in so many aspects. Your family's been Arizona Farm Bureau members for years. You're very active at the county level, Pinal County Farm Bureau. How has Arizona Farm Bureau, in terms of its advocacy role, or even just, trying to get those issues out there about farming and ranching?
Actually, going back into the history, my grandfather was the first president of Pinal County Farm Bureau way back in the 40s. And I'm not sure, I wish he was alive. I would love to talk to him. Farm Bureau is so important to us. I went to boot camp for, that's the women's boot camp. And I went to that in 2014, and the training was unbelievable. It was in Washington, D.C., and Jonna Miller was the trainer. And to this day, I said, what will Jonna Miller do? If I'm backed into a corner, how would Jonna Miller handle this? But because of this, they taught me how to advocate. So then I got onto the GO team, and I was sent back there again for training for politicians. The first one was more media. The second one was speaking to our politicians. And because of that, you learn to advocate for it. And I appreciate Julie Murphy and Farm Bureau for using me. I really appreciate it because we really need to get the word out. We've got so many issues that need to be addressed, and we get calls from media, from politicians, and it's just it's so important to advocate the right way. We have had Farm Bureau come out to our farm a number of times. We've had groups come out, and it's nice to talk to them. We've talked one-on-one with people from Farm Bureau, knowing that we have serious issues with water and other issues, and so it goes through policy development. We're going to be having a policy development meeting here pretty soon, and then it will, hopefully, some of our ideas will be used and eventually make it to Washington, D.C.
So, story on Nancy. She was, after the media training, she was put on what they call the GO team. I know you guys in the dairy industry have something similar, but what that means is because they've gone through the training and they raise their hand in willingness, most of the time they're not going to want to do any media if they don't go through the training, but we can lean on them when the media calls and use them to kind of to get in front of the mic, so to speak. But one year she had so many interviews that American Farm Bureau Federation recognized her as a GO team champion or
GO
something.
team member of the year 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
team member of the year.
fantastic.
And it was just, just a flood of media. And a lot of it related to water and the drought.
It did. And now more and more people in Arizona, more women are going through boot camp and getting on the GO team. So that's, spreading the wealth, so to say. So that's good because advocacy is so important. And Farm Bureau gives you the opportunity to do that.
I was just thinking the same thing, that advocacy is so important because so few people across the country really have direct contact with agriculture. And, you've done so much with ag literacy and agriculture and really, educating our consumers. And tell us a little bit more about our youngest consumers. Why is it important to you to really educate children?
Okay, I have two reasons. Number one is that children can sell their parents anything. So if there's some really good
Very
cereal
true.
out there on the
Yes.
market, they're going to get their parents to buy it. So I'm thinking if they can sell products to their parents, they can sell agriculture. They can sell water conservation. So in every program I do, we preach water conservation, and we tell them how they can be water savers. And we have this little water droplet. His name is Dudley Dewdrop. And we have a little water song that we sing, and it's Dudley Dewdrop, watch the water flow, part of the water cycle, I'm important, don't you know? And so we sing this little song, and you'll hear them singing it on the hay wagon on the way out to the field. But we can get them to get their families to conserve water. And I've actually gone to the store and been approached by parents and said, my kid eats broccoli because of you, or my parent saves water. My kids save water because of you. And that's what I want to hear. But the other reason is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a teaching tool, a learning theory. The bottom of the pyramid is all about survival, and agriculture is survival. And so it's the very base of the pyramid. We can't work our way up the pyramid until we have agriculture and survival.
Well, speaking on the challenges of educating different groups of our population, especially children, and how important it has become for you, I asked you earlier and you talked a little bit about your media experiences, your media training. What are some of the misconceptions that you've encountered with the media when it comes to farming?
A lot of them are not aware of the importance of farms. Some of them come out and they have no clue what happens on a farm. I just had a reporter do that the other day. They came out and she had no idea how things grow, why we use tractors in the field, why we use diesel. And she just didn't have a clue as to where her food and fiber really comes from. She didn't realize cotton grew on a plant. she didn't realize that alfalfa is used to feed cattle, for dairy cows mostly. And we have this little saying that alfalfa is milk chocolate in the making, because we feed the alfalfa to cows, they give us milk, and we make chocolate. And she had a really hard time, getting that point. She just didn't understand why alfalfa was so important, and that was one of the reasons she was out there.
We've almost made it too easy for ourselves to access our food.
Yes, we have.
It's true. People don't realize how much goes into everything they're purchasing to bring that product to them.
Yeah.
During COVID, I kind of thought maybe they were going to get it, but it's funny how you fall back into your old habits.
Well, the encouragement is you'll never run out of something to do on behalf of educating the public when it comes to agriculture. And the other thing we have to remember, agriculture is complicated.
It's very complicated, yes.
I grew up on a farm, farmed with my parents. Now I've been with Arizona Farm Bureau for nearly 20 years. You've been with the Arizona Milk Producers for nearly 20 years, right? I mean, Tammy and I have been exposed to everything you can imagine to be exposed to when it comes to agriculture. I am still learning things about agriculture.
And you came from a farming background.
Yeah.
I did not have any knowledge of farming when I started to work with the dairy industry. So I've just learned so much, and I'm continually learning.
Yeah. So you have excuses. I don't.
And that's very true, because I grew up in farming. My dad instilled a passion for farming in us. As we were growing up, we got to irrigate, we swam in the ditches, that was our swimming hole, I loved it. But through the years, with all the technology, it's hard to keep up with it. The GMOs, the genetically modified organism, that's a concept that people have a hard time understanding. And we kind of present it in a fun way so that when they leave, they can at least research it and find out a little bit more about it.
So when you say present it in a fun way, what do you mean? Or is it too complicated?
No.
Maybe you need your PowerPoint and we don't have it.
No, I can tell you real quick. It's okay, when they come to the farm, they get a bag of popcorn, and it's popped in cottonseed oil. And what they don't know is later that's going to be a prop for me. So when we start with the part about GMOs, I show them a picture of I'll open up a green cotton bowl, a beautiful cotton bowl, and you open it up and there's beautiful fiber. And then I'll say, years ago, when we would open these up, they would look like this. And I have a picture of a cotton bowl that has a bollworm in it, and it's eaten out the inside of it. And everybody's like, "Ooh, that's horrible." And, you talk about how it could hurt your yield. And so then that gives me the opportunity to talk about GMOs and Bacillus thuringiensis, which is implanted in the seed. And then the bollworm gets in there and it eats it out and gets a bellyache and dies. And that's just the quickest way to explain it to them. So then I'll say, "Oh, so I just gave you a bag of popcorn popped in cottonseed oil. Are you going to get a bellyache and die?" And they start laughing. I'll say, "Of course not, but for the worms, it's not a good thing. For us, it's a great thing." So it's just a kind of a little way to present that to people. You have to get creative and think of ways to keep them interested and ways that they understand, how important technology is and how we improve with time.
And your family, real quick, probably identified with the same thing, the BT cotton. Another way to say GMOs is BT cotton.
Yeah.
And it came online in 1996. Dad's first year, he reduced his pesticide use by, he said, well over 90%.
We have too.
Yeah, and so when we think about those things, some of this technology, and it's very innocuous. There's 12 to 13 years of study when a new product with the GMO technology in it comes online. If it doesn't meet all the requirements of the USDA, FDA, EPA, then it gets deep sixed. So it's a
Right.
long process, and the whole point is to make sure that it doesn't have a negative impact on human health.
Right. Yes.
But I think one of the things we were talking about before we actually went on air was your musical background,
Yes.
and that you play the fiddle, and you have such fun ways of incorporating things like music and hands-on experience into teaching our consumers and our kids. Tell us a little bit more about that, about how you can really help make your messages resonate through some of the things you do?
Sure. So I believe in popcorn, fiddles, and hayrides. And I believe that's what makes a successful program. So almost everybody that comes to our farm gets popcorn, and it has been popped in cottonseed oil. And with the children's programs, we do a lot of different songs. And so fiddles, the word hoedown means it's when the farmers laid their hoe down for the season, and it was winter time. They'd got their crops in, and it was time to have a party. And that's how the name hoedown originated.
I love that. I didn't realize
So
that.
we have a hoedown every time. And so we'll play, some old-time fiddle songs. But then we also use songs, and we'll create words that the kids can easily remember, and then they'll act them out. Like we'll do an insect song called Head, Thorax, Abdomen, and we talk about 6 legs, 2 antennae, and compound eyes. Don't forget about the wings. And so then we can talk about good bugs and bad bugs. And then we'll talk about bees and how they're important. They'll taste honey. And we have a little pheromone activity where they sniff their way to a beehive. And so, but it all starts out
Great.
with a little song. And then water conservation, we have Dudley. And so Dudley Dewdrop. And as I said, we can be driving, they can be on the hay wagon. I'll be driving my tractor, and I'll hear these kids going, they're singing Dudley Dewdrop. And it's just it's to the tune of Goober Peas. And
You got to sing it for us.
it goes, Dudley Dewdrop, watch the water flow, part of the water cycle. I'm important, don't you know? Dudley Dewdrop, watch the water flow. Please try help to save me. I'm important, don't you know?
Aw.
So it's Dudley Dewdrop, watch the water flow, part of the water cycle. I help to make things grow. And that's how the song goes.
I love it.
Very
I
nice.
kind of wish that she'd have been our teacher.
I know.
And
Wouldn't
very
that have made things more fun?
Yeah.
And we also wrote a song called Cottonland, and we do that for the winter visitors when they come. So right now I'm not doing it, but I have done it in the past where we sing a song called Cottonland, and we'd written the words about it. And then I used to have musical jams at my house every year, and there was a lady that came every year, and she just loved we had green chili and good pinto beans, and she wrote a song called Thanksgiving in Old Casa Grande, and it's about the cotton with the fields up so high, and she just nailed it. It was so fun to listen to that, and we recorded the words, and so got that too. But it's just so fun to incorporate music into the programs because it really gets those kids moving.
And makes it memorable.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music helps us with our memory. And when you put, ag words to just a regular song tune, that is just so fun.
Yes, it is.
I want to give props to the Kaywood family for always participating. And with this latest project, Arizona Farm Bureau is releasing a documentary called Growing Home, Arizona. And the Kaywood family, the generational Kaywood family, your son, your grandson are on this documentary. We've got 2 farm families, like I said, the Kaywoods being one of them. And then we also have an urban Arizona family sharing their experiences and recognition of water conservation. The focus of the movie is on water. And it was just so fun to see your family on that movie and to hear little Thomas, your grandson, talk like he's already experienced 1,000 years of life. He's very mature, I guess. He's
Yes.
a young man with an old soul in a good way.
And Travis was that way growing up. Thomas is just like him in that respect. Thomas, he went through the FFA program at the high school. He's shown cattle and won grand champion one year with his steer. And he's been very involved. Travis and Mandy, his parents, are very, very supportive of both of Hannah and Thomas. And he just loves to be out on the tractor.
So, Nancy, what would you like to leave listeners with, knowing what we've talked about? Farming life, education, agriculture education, even if you had 2 or 3 tips.
First of all, we need to save our agriculture in Arizona. We need to come up with agreements with the Colorado River and our water. The other thing is I want to thank Arizona Farm Bureau and American Farm Bureau and Pinal County Farm Bureau for everything they've given me. They've given me the tools to be an advocate for it. But more than anything, agriculture's freedom, and we need to protect it.
Excellent. Nancy, thank you. Tammy?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think
Yes.
we need to bring back some of that fiddle music that
Yes.
she was playing.
And I think we'll take out this show with some of her fiddle music.